Whew. Greetings. This is Doc Ock coming to you live and direct today from Black Facts Headquarters Central. That's right, Doc Ock back in the saddle. Yes, Lord. Feels good, feels good. Back in my usual lair, doing what we can and just trying to keep it real fair while we do it with a flair. That's right, absolutely. All right, now, proverb for today, let's get to it. Horns do not grow before the head. Horns do not grow before the head. And that's a Nigerian proverb. One more time. Horns do not grow before the head. And moving on. We got a poem we're going to do here. A lot of times people will think of this. I think it was originally written to talk about the Native Americans, but it could apply in more than one instance. So, for instance, let's see what we got here. This one is called Before the White Man Came. Oops, wait a minute. I'm putting on these glasses today just to make sure because things get a little bit fuzzy over here. I don't think the light is best light here. I could still use better light. I got some light, but I could always use more. All right, here we go. Happy the days when once we roamed the land completely free. Good were the times when village heads dictated policy. Great was the hunting in those days. Abundant was the game. Peaceful relations we all had before the white man came. Tall was the stalks of corn we grew, large the tobacco leaf. Healthy our bodies and our minds, strong were our backs and teeth. Many a moonlit night was spent dancing around the flame. Never a hungry moment met before the white man came. Clear were the streams that crossed this place. Fishing was at its best. Silver and gold, the trinkets we wore, and the finest of clothes we dressed. Large were the herds of water buffalo and deer on the plains. Full was the peace pipe that we smoked before the white man came. And then the day of the curse arrived, and they landed on these shores. What manner of man, what manner of being is this, we said? We've never seen them before. But even so, we extended them our hand, as we would unto a friend. How could we have known that syphilis and claps and plague had come with them? But now it's been 400 years since that eventful day. But if we had known what they had in mind, they would have all died in the bay. So now we're paying for our mistake with only ourselves to blame, with memories of the good old years before the white man came. And that's pretty much describes the story we're reading today. It's in the times before white people really had come into Africa. Okay, and we're in East Africa in particular on this particular day. And we're doing the story today of Mekatalili wa Menza. Mekatalili wa Menza. Okay, I'm just marking off a few of these we've already read because I believe I read that one before. I try not to read any one of these more than once. I'm just trying to go through the entire book, which we've just about done. All right, so let's go ahead and get on with the story of Mekatalili wa Menza. This is one of the few stories that features a woman, a shero, a heroine, as you will. Let's see where we left off yesterday. We hadn't quite finished that chapter. Oops, wait a minute. This is the one we're in here. Giriama. Kaya Giriama. That's the chapter we're on right now. Okay, here we go. They left early in the morning. Mekatalili's mother had packed them some food and water for their journey, and Meki put it into her bag with her load of the millet they would sell in Mombasa. She saw her father carefully put extra arrows with his bow with the measure of utsungu, powerful poison for the arrowheads. Mekatalili, it was in case they encountered a leopard or wanted to hunt an antelope for eating. Finally, it was time to go. Mekatalili lifted the huge basket up onto her head and followed her father out of the kaya. She had never been outside of the kaya. She had often seen the tall and strong wall surrounding the village. It was made of upright tree trunks set in the ground, and no one could ever penetrate it. She knew they were on top of a big hill and surrounded by dense forest of huge mango trees, baobabs, and fig trees. For the first time, she passed through the big carved wooden gates and emerged out into the forest. The sentries at the gate wished them a good journey as they started making their way down the steep slope. The only way to enter or leave the kaya was by a narrow forest footpath and through the gate. Whenever travelers approached the kaya, they would have to come up that footpath, and long before they arrived at the gates, a sentry would have spotted them. A certain kind of whistle would alert the kaya of strangers. It was nearly impossible for an enemy to get in. Father, said Mekatalili, after walking for a little while. Yes, my daughter? Are you very tired? No, father, I'm not tired. I was wondering why the kaya has to be protected so. Why do we have such a big wall? Will leopards come or enemies? My daughter, there are many dangers, replied her father. There are leopards and there are enemies. The gallo might still attack us and even other people. Her father did not want her to know. But there was also another danger. For a long time, as long as anyone remembered, children were captured by slave traders and put onto big ships that sailed off to distant lands across the ocean. Children who were captured were never seen again. This is why Menza had packed extra arrows with them. They walked along the narrow forest footpath. The sun was up now, and it was beginning to get hot, even in the shade of the tall trees. Mekatalili kept her load balanced on her head and followed her father on the path in front of her. After walking for about an hour, Menza pointed to a hill over to the left. My daughter, that is where Kaya Ribe is. Is it like our Kaya? I think so, but I have never been inside. The Ribe come from Singwaya, like us. The journey was hot and took the whole day. They saw many monkeys jumping into trees and making lots of noise. There were vervet monkeys, baboons, sykes monkeys, galago monkeys. Antelopes ran silently through the trees in the distance. And at one point, they even saw a buffalo. That would be a water buffalo. Sometimes Mekatalili felt like running after the little clouds of pretty colored butterflies, but then remembered that she had a big load on her head and had to slow down. But when they stopped to eat later in the day, and she had put down her basket, she felt so light and went off after a little cloud of butterflies. Mekatalili, come back there. Come back here, her father called to her. Mekatalili circled around and came running right back into her father's arms. They ate and rested and got on their way again. In the afternoon, it became very hot, and the air started feeling heavier, and their pace was slower. By the time they were approaching the town of Mombasa, the sun had already set in the west behind them. As the night closed in around them, they could see flickering lights, which indicated the presence of much human activity ahead. As they got closer to the town, Mekatalili started smelling new things, the salt, sea, air, mixed with the smell of fresh fish and the strange aromas of spices, coffee, and incense. She did not know what most of these smells were. She just took them in and thought they were fascinating and wonderful. She heard strange music with sad, wailing melodies, which sounded like it came from a world beyond this one. As they moved into the town itself, the music became louder, and Mekatalili felt haunted by the beautiful, strange sounds. As these aromas and sounds became more intense, she began to hear people talk. They spoke in strange languages she had never heard: Arabic, Gujarati, Persian. There were people everywhere walking and talking. Some were sitting, drinking coffee. Others were trading. She followed her father through dark, narrow streets to a house where he knocked on the door. Finally, the door opened, and Menza talked to the man in the door in low tones. This was where they slept that night, and even though Mekatalili was very excited, she was exhausted and slept a deep sleep. Into that chapter. Next chapter is a coastal seaport, where we learn more about the coastal seaport of Mombasa. Okay, so we will continue on. We'll pick up there on the morrow. And in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and sign off. After finally getting back into our lair, we missed a day or so due to circumstances beyond our control. But needless to say, we're back in the cockpit at the controls, trying not to be too dull. We're just trying to help you stroll on up the way as we help make your day. Take your mind off your troubles and your woes, your strife, and anything else that may be going wrong in your life. So we'll see you back here again tonight at 9 o'clock. This is Doc Ock at noon and 9, signing off. Peace out.